right, everyone. Just give me a moment here. I'm traveling, so I'm doing something a little different. So I'm not even sure if I can be heard. But I'm gonna say, hold on a second. Welcome to Chief Speaks anyway. All right. So just give me 1 second here. Let me get myself situated. All right. As you can see, I'm okay. You hear me well. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Give thanks. Yeah, yeah. Please excuse. I'm actually broadcasting from a tablet, and as you can see, um, I'm mobile, and I just dropped my phone. All right. Let me actually let me get a little better situated here. Nah, we ain't going for no drive, low. Right? Because yeah, I don't want to. Or maybe I might. I don't know. We see. We see if the people roll up, tell me to get out the parking lot. But yeah, so um, all right, turn that off. Yeah, man. So welcome to Chief Speaks as always, and please excuse the shakiness. I'm gonna see if I can situate this tablet on top of something, you know. And welcome to everyone, especially you know traditional listeners, as I always call them, and you know the archive people, and all those folks who like to come in and check in and see what's popping. So I've been meaning to do a segment like this for the longest, just about like the phone or whatever. So this is kind of an experiment in that sense for me. So if it goes a little funny, man, just be forgiving. All right. So yeah, before we begin, I actually wanted to hit a couple of points. All right. And I know I'm probably holding this thing lopsided, man, but hey, man, be kind. Be kind to the growing mind. All right. But yeah, like I said, man, I've been meaning to do it for a minute. But I wanted to actually cover a question. It was like two or three questions that came in. And I always encourage folk to yeah, send questions and put them in after the video and whatnot like that. And there was like two or three that came in that were pretty good. And I said, yeah, let me just. They came in through like social media, so I said, let me just address them when we actually do the segment on Sunday. So just bear with me a second. I want to pull one up um, that a brother had sent in, and it was regarding language. All right. Also, I'm pretty sure there's a men's call today as well. All right, so I'm putting that out there. I know a notice had went out, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna back up the notice with me saying it as well. There's a men's call, and I want to remind everyone too on December 1st through 3rd, I'll be doing workshops down in New Orleans. All right, down there, and the first will be a lecture at the Craig Center. Of course, you can go to my Facebook page to see the event information. But the first, December 1st, which is that Friday, I'll be at the Craig Center in New Orleans. For address and all that, you're gonna have to look at the Facebook thing. And on the second, I'll be at Ile de Concoin, and that'll be like a more intimate piece. A lot of people, I guess, apparently, a lot of people are really looking forward to that piece as well because they want to sit and chit chat. So yeah, they want to. So that'll be like it's like a dinner and little wine thing. So maybe people want to see if I get drunk. So there'll probably be a bunch of cameras out. See if I get drunk, start flipping tables on, start dancing on top of tables. That's not gonna happen. All right. So if you are all excited for the Saturday piece because you want to see some a plus size stripping show, you save your money now. All right. But yeah, so Saturday will be a more intimate, type of thing. We're gonna build and go over some things as usual, how we always do. But also, you'll have an opportunity to really, ask some questions, personal questions and things like that and really connect, which will be the Saturday. And then Sunday we'll be doing, which is the 3rd, December 3rd, we'll be doing a healing tent. All right. So that's going to be cool. That's going to be in Congo Square Marketplace. And on that day we'll be doing like head cleansings, offerings, of course readings, consultations, things like that. But work, like when we always say work, we'll be doing work. All right. So, and then I'll be there actually probably like for that next, I haven't decided how long I'm gonna stay through, but probably that next strong. So I'll probably be there to like the next Friday, for anybody who wants to still do some stuff or whatever, because I got a couple people that I know down there that want to get some work in. So I'll be staying a little bit longer for that. All right. So just want to give you all a heads up on the New Orleans piece, and then I'll be back in um, what's the face? Canada, Toronto. The last strong in January. We're already setting that up now. It's going to be a larger event than get rid of that. It's going to be a larger event than last time. We'll be at a nice little banquet hall, So and then we're also looking to do like again similar to the New Orleans piece, to kind of like a not just a meet and greet, because yeah, but like a more intimate thing where we can connect and speak, and because outside, you guys probably know by now, I'm not just a strong advocate of just lecturing and giving a peace sign and walking off the stage, and that's cool, but you also need to be able to connect. I guess I don't need to say nothing after that. You need to be able to connect. Not only do people need to be able to connect to me, like brother Zach and brother Charles has said it before too, like when they had first like heard me teach and kind of hearing me online a lot and really digging and vibing with what I was teaching, they were like, man, I got to meet this guy. And I know to meet this guy wasn't like I got to meet him because I'm a fan. It was like I need to look at him and see if he's real. you know it's kind of like sometimes certain interviews you go on for employment, they're so quick because they just want to see if you look crazy. That's it. They just want to see if you're crazy. How do you come prepared? Do you smell funny? Things like that. So the connecting aspect is important, but it's also important for people to connect with each other. So that way when I'm driving back up the highway in my whip, um the teachings that were left with you, you can substantiate among one another, and you can check each other. Being able to assemble yourselves, as the good book says, forsake not the assembling of thyself. Being able to assemble yourselves is important, man, because it gives you an opportunity to really check each other. And I know a lot of times with spiritual development, man, we're so just bent on doing things by ourselves all the time. I don't like vibing with people. I don't like people around me. This, that, and third. I'm not a people person. You got to get out of that. You got to get out of that. I'm telling you. And sometimes we tend to lock ourselves into identity. Say, well, that's just how I am. Well, you are developing a spiritual knowing and inkling so that you can become something different than what you are. All right. So just kind of keep that in mind, so that meeting and that connecting and assembling is important, because there's a lot of folk, especially rocking with our new now, who have been consistent and have been devoted. I mean, you're always gonna have those who are not, who gonna fly in and fly out, or think they're gonna come in and steal, something. And when I say steal, I don't always mean information. Sometimes people come in to steal energy. They're just foul people. They come in to suck the energy from other people, or they come in to get some notoriety or try to clean up their image. You're gonna have all kind of people flying in and out. That's just a part of building. Um, but for those who are like, nah, I'm really feeling where this is going. This is making sense to me, and and I think every movement has that. I'm not saying I knew was the only movement with that, where people say, man, now everything is finally starting to make sense. No, it's just, well, this is you found your language. You found your people. And I'm sure, I mean, there's people who will walk into a church and say, oh wow, now it's starting, or a mosque, and it's starting to make sense, or a temple, a synagogue, you know, um, wherever. So it's not that this is the way. No, this is a way, and there's a lot of other ways. But for those who have been like, man, like this is working, especially if you've been trying things for a long time and they haven't been happening for you, you know, and you finally find something that's making sense. you know, then you might say, well, this is something I want to really not only be a part of, but like a lot of people have reached out to me and said, I want to be a part of it, but I also want to help. I want to help make it more. I want to help make it grow. You know, so in that sense, when you're experiencing something like that, man, it's important that you guys meet each other, because I am not Our New Nation and I am not Our New Life Global Ministries. I'm not. And I really look forward to the day where somebody just takes my spot. Says, man, let me do this, man. Get your old ass out the way. But somebody just says, man, I think I might be able to handle this a little bit differently or present a better idea or whatever. I look forward to that. And I know, let me apologize for some of you who missing the slideshow. I know how much y'all love the slideshow, you know. Um and you just see a image of this field, but hey, it ain't really about the image so much, is it? Right? Or the shakiness of me doing this with the I like this live thing, man. I like the control. I feel like Dungeon Master. But yeah, it's not so much about that. But like I was just saying, being able to link with each other, meet with each other is important, man. That's a real important thing, because anything can happen to me. Like I always say, man, I could always get a bump on the head or just fall off. I might just fall off. I might just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm gonna go do something else in my life. I'm gonna go race cars or, be a chef or whatever. So it's important that you assemble among yourselves because you're finding each other. And all I am is just a lighthouse. That's it. And sometimes the light in the lighthouse goes out. Sometimes from all of the erosion of the salt water and it constantly being beat up by the elements, it collapses, right? But just because the lighthouse collapses doesn't mean that the boats that are out, at sea do not post the camera to the sky. Hey man, ain't no birds out today, man. So yeah, sorry about that, Anwar. He said pointing to the sky so we can see some birds. Ain't it? It's feeling real apocalyptic out today. Clear skies, but ain't no birds, man. So yeah, let me see. Somebody walking the track down there, but y'all probably can't see that. So that's about all you gonna get. Ain't no wildlife, ain't none of that, man. So yeah. All right, but yeah. So I just wanted to speak on that, and just in terms of yeah, it's zombies in the dugout. Omar says, yeah, well, that's why I'm sitting on top of this Hemi. So if need be, I could skirt out. If zombies come, man, they be flying over the hood, you know. But so yeah, it's important for you guys to link up. That's the point that I'm making, man. It's important for you guys to meet up and see each other and connect with one another, and not just check the veritable nature of myself, because I ain't really all that important, but each other too, So all right. So with that, let me get to this question, all right, because enough time has already gone by. Let me see if I can find. I gotta find it. Well, actually, no. I know where I put it. I put it in my notes. Put it in my notes. Put it in my notes. Give me a second. Let me pull up my notes here. I'm working a little bit different today, you guys. So just bear with me. All right. I got tablet in one hand, the phone in another. All right. Okay. So, okay, here we go. And I don't remember who posted this. I forgot to put the name, but it's on my Facebook wall. All right. I know a lot of you don't use Facebook, but yeah, it's on the Facebook wall. So under one of I don't even remember it's under one of the Nation building. But I mean, I'm gonna read it anyway, so you don't need to see it. But it's under one of the Nation building. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. Oh no, I know it ain't. All right, that's enough of that. I'm already annoyed now. Let me just read it from my notes. I was trying to find it in Facebook to give you the name of the person, man, but well, it doesn't matter. There we go. Yeah, Marty Utu L, which is Brother Haru YJ. Oh, okay. I didn't know it was the same thing. Y'all got all these different social media handles, man. All right. So yeah, Brother Haru posted it. And he says, "Greetings, Chief. I came to your page today because I was interested to know your perspective on something I feel relevant to nation building. That being creating our own language. The reason I am even asking, is because I noticed some people who frown upon so-called Black American leaders who have attempted to give us language and culture of our own that are inclusive of words from various ethnic groupings. Many regard it as pseudo or fake. I personally feel it makes sense because we are a group of mixed ethnic groups. I always use Kiswahili as an example. That is not frowned upon. Though I though it was created for trade and social exchange for our Kibulan, and especially the coastal regions where many ethnic groups shared land and resources. I hope my inquiry hasn't been too exhausting. Okay, no, and it wasn't too exhausting, brother. All right. So I'm trying to find a question. Give me a second. Where exactly? What was the question? That being the reason I'm interested to know. Okay, interested to know your perspective. There we go. That's the question. I was interested to know your perspective on something I feel relevant to nation building. That being creating our own language. So essentially, that's the question. The relevancy of creating your own language. Yeah. Um, that is something that I covered. I think maybe briefly, but I did cover it in last Sunday's session, where I spoke about the elements of a nation. What comprises a nation, right? And one of the things that I touched upon was, you know, the aspect of geography, right, is one of the things that locks in or validates what a nation is. And again, your geography can consist of someone's basement. You can go I could go to this field right here, right? I can say, hey man, it's this football field, this space right here. I can plant my flag, and if I can defend it long enough, the mic is muffled. Okay, you know what? Probably because my fingers on it. Tell me if it's still muffled, and if it is, I'll just set this down on the dashboard, and then we'll go from there. All right, it's clear. Yeah, so chances are my finger was on the mic and I didn't see it. All right. So what was I saying? Okay, so yeah, so there's different elements that comprise a nation. Geography, celebrations are a very important part of nation building, especially for indigenous people, because most indigenous people, I mean pretty much all, are very celebratory. We sometimes, even just in small moments, like you could say, hey, my daughter's coming to visit, or I just hit the number for $400. What? All that and yeah, and all that high fiving and soul brother handshake and all that not that jazz. That's a part of our celebratory nature, man. So that's the thing, man. There's different aspects and components to nation building that, when they're absent, you really don't have community. Ritual is an important aspect. With no ritual, there is no community. That's why you have things like saying the anthem every day when you go to school, or you go to a court and all rise for the honorable blah 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 blah. And typically, like in the Anglosphere, not even say the Anglosphere, but in the West, more so, we walk on the right side, of the street and things like that, or we drive on the right side. Now, all of that is ritual, right? All of that means something. It's all ritual. Even writing from what do we write? From left to right. Yeah, is it? Yeah, left to right. Sometimes I go different directions. I forget, man. But we ride from left to right, drive from left to right, things like that, right? I mean, right. Excuse me. So language, of course, last but not least, is an important component to how you identify not only a culture, but how you identify a nation, right? So now, creating your own language is not terribly difficult. It's not actually hard to create a language once you understand the basis of phonetics, because you can create a language off of another language. You can take another ancient tongue if you want, or just even basic word sounds, and then you can create a language off of that. Sometimes, if you even, I give you like a very easy and simple example, sigils, right? So when we create sigils, and especially when we use sigils as a part of our mantra work, we extract the vowels out of the actual words. Now, when you extract those vowels out of the words and you're only saying the consonants, it doesn't necessarily sound exactly like the original word, but if you write it out, you know what you're saying, you know? So like when you're saying I always like to use Louis Vuitton as an example, because I like Louis Vuitton. But Louis Vuitton, right? And that's something I noticed years ago, looking at it, I don't know, I think it was a briefcase I had or something, and I was just looking at it, and LV, and I was like, oh, that's love. That's why we like this so much, because it says love. So it says love, it says live. The LV can be different things. So it's just like in comedic structure, we call it Kemet, but some call it Kemet, you know, because we're not seeing the vowels there, we're just seeing KMT. And KMT can be pronounced different ways. And there's been some debate around that as well. Is it Kemet? Is it Kemet? I don't really care that much. Yeah, I think we got bigger fish to fry than sitting there trying to figure out how to pronounce words of a language that no one even uses anymore. You know. But anyway, and I don't mean to be offensive for anyone who is currently studying the Medu Neter or anything like that, because I have studied it as well. But you have to be able to put things into perspective. Um, so yeah, language is important. Now, creating your own language as a part of nation building can be valuable, but is it completely necessary? No, because there is a language of liberation, right? Even in using a language that might be foreign to our own ethnic groups, there's a way that we use it that begins to become our own. Like, for instance, hip hop, right? And I'm not gonna do a long dissertation on hip hop because I get tired of that sometimes myself, man. Enough with the hip hop documentaries. We did other art forms, but I don't mean to be hating on the hip hop aficionados, but especially like when I do a lot of work in schools and stuff, there's always somebody wants to come in and say, yeah, I'm gonna do a hip hop presentation because that's what the young people connect to. No, they don't. No, they don't. They ain't thinking about that. You're gonna stand in front of them and rap to them about brushing your teeth properly, you know. But anyway, hold on one second. Okay, I thought I had to sneeze. Yeah, see, I can't. I gotta figure out how to mute the mic and everything on this. See, normally when I'm, rocking my normal setup, if I gotta drink something or mute or sneeze or something, I can take 3 seconds, mute the mic, and come right back in on time. you know, but so yeah, language, right? So you can actually take a language that we already have in front of us and transmute it into something. That's what we did with hip hop, right? We started to take certain words and certain phrases and flip them in a way where they became ours, in a sense. And even, with the creation of the nation of gods and earth. So I should say really the uncovering of the nation of the gods and earth. Because, when you have all these different spiritual systems and cultures that come up when you're nation building, like even now, based on the question that you're asking, we call it nation building, but honestly, for many of us, it's just nation uncovering. It's not like we're in a space where we're saying, okay, we got to get people together, we got to organize, and then we got to build on top of this, on top of that. It's not really that. It's very similar to uh, who was it? There was a sculptor, and I'm trying to remember his name right now. It'll come back to me. It'll come to me. And he had carved, excuse me, the sculpture of David. So anybody who can remember that the name is on the tip of my tongue. Um, but I remember, um, I don't know if I was in a museum or I was reading something. It might have been a combination of both. But I think I was reading. Yeah, it was Michelangelo, wasn't it? I wanted to say that, but it felt too it felt too obvious. But if Lowe says it, I know it's right. So um when he had carved the sculpture, he had said something very interesting, right? Because I had read a bit about his life. Just I like to read about different artists and sculptors and just different people who have done things that people consider to be significant, even if I don't think it's significant. I like to understand how they got to that point. And he had said something very interesting to the effect that when they were speaking about oh, you created this great work, and this, that, when he was being um, praised for it. He said, no, I didn't actually create anything. The sculpture already existed inside of the stone. All I did was remove the excess that didn't need to be on it to uncover it. Right. So I thought that was like, kind of a profound statement, more profound than the sculpture itself. Because I mean, you're sitting with a little tiny penis sitting on top of the giant. Yeah, it's not really my style of image, man. I'd rather, just give me a picture of Pamela Greer or something. But anyway, so nation building is similar. A lot of times, it's not so much that we have to go out and look for new things to do, whatever. But we just have to remove the excess of the things that we're doing that are counterintuitive to where we want to be. That's the more significant piece there. And especially like if you notice what we do with our new a lot of times. Like I said, I'm not really much of a builder. That's not really my forte. There's people, in my opinion, who do that a lot better than I do. But I'm really good at cutting through the nonsense, seeing the nonsense, and seeing the nonsense from the good stuff. You know what? There we go. I bet it's clear now. There we go. I just found the mic. All right. I bet it's clear now. Yeah. All right. So let me put I might just put this on the dashboard, man. But anyway, yeah, I had put my finger on the mic, man. I see where the mic is. So anyway, so when it comes to language, man, like, the question that you asked was about should we create, or the relevancy of creating a new language. I would say start with removing the excess from the language that you're already using that disempowers you. In the same way, and uncover the glory of it underneath. That's where you would probably want to begin, because you start talking about creating a new language with no geography. You want to create a new language, create an anthem. You don't have an anthem, you don't have any celebrations. Like, what do we as a nation, what do we celebrate yearly? What's important to us, what seasons are important to us, what colors are important to us, what music and art forms are important to us. So there's a lot that goes into that first, before you say, okay, now we're going to build a new language. Because the truth is, the New Nuwapians did that, right? You have Nuwapu. So we do have languages that people have foundated and given to us. Even if you look at Rasta culture, there's a way of speaking and talk that is significant and distinctive of Rastafarianism, right? And a lot of that Rasta talk really just comes from the Bible. It's just really biblical talk, very similar to Hebrew Israelite camps, right? So I wouldn't say necessarily we need to create a new language. I wouldn't even necessarily say we need to agree upon one language, but we need to take the languages that we're already utilizing and employ words and phrases of power that we can all agree upon. So whether you're using Kiswahili, because of course, yeah, people criticize it because they say, oh, well, Kiswahili is Arabic, basically, and it's just, which isn't true, you know. But people always gonna criticize something, like we may decide to use the Medu, and like I just said, well, ain't nobody speaking that anymore, and somebody might run with that statement, or so. On the continent, there's so many languages, man. There's so many. I always tell people, just pick one. You don't have to kind of key in on, we're going to speak this. Let me turn this doggone phone off. Oh, okay. That's real nice. A reminder came in an hour later. Reminder to answer the question that I'm answering right now. That's what that was. All right, player. I'm in a different time zone. That's why that happened right now. I'm actually I'm moving around. I'm on the go as usual, right? So yeah, so that's how I would address that, man. Strip away first before you look to build a new language. Is language an important aspect? Oh yeah, man. Yeah. But it's no more important than land. Sometimes we pick the esoteric things that we can get easily without really looking at the more serious things that we really need to deal with, like geography. And like I've said many times, you just need a holy land. You don't necessarily. Oh, I put my no. Okay, no. Okay, we good. You just need a holy land, right? You don't necessarily need to say, okay, well, listen, we got 30 square miles of land. Like, we have a nation. Nah, literally, it could be a plot of land. It could be a plot. It could be 60 feet by 60 feet. The essentially, you just have to have a holy land. That's it. All great nations have a holy land. All right. And sometimes they steal the holy lands, right? Sometimes they're invaders in that particular land. But the key is, man, you got to have some type of home. I don't care if it's an acre somewhere. It doesn't matter. So I would suggest, man, there's some things that are critical first to kind of look into. An anthem. Knowing that we're a celebratory people, somebody write an anthem. And please don't let it be a hip hop anthem. Please. All right. And I'm a hip hop head, but please. And please don't let it be a spoken word anthem. Nobody wants to snap their fingers to the RBG flag. All right. At least I don't. All right. Let it be something kind of tougher than that. All right. But, is it not 21 Savage? Or maybe it needs to be. Maybe we need to update it. Maybe. Because mumble rap is a form of language, right? It's a form of disguising. It's like mumble rap is like graffiti. Like I'm making a statement here, but it's hidden inside of this code of basically me being a drug addict, but it's hidden inside of the mumbling. And so I don't necessarily put down those type of inventions like mumble rap, because at the end of the day, when you take all the music and education out of the schools, what did you leave the children with but to create something like that? And hey, I'm glad they created something. That's awesome. They created something, even if it's maybe not to my particular liking, but that's all right, because I also ain't wearing no skinny jeans. That ain't to my liking either. So sometimes things do need to be updated in that sense. All right. So that's how I would answer that question, man. Yeah, language is very relevant, but definitely, we have to be careful about cueing in on small things like that, like language, and not being able to see the larger picture. Language is a part of it. Land is a part of it. Celebrations are a part of it. Education is a part of it. All of these things go into nation building. And a lot of us are already doing those things, but we just haven't kind of congealed ourselves together. A lot of us have those different pieces. You got people who have land, places, lots of land, don't know what to do with it. You have people who are linguists, man. They study language. They enjoy that. You have people like Lowe, who are he's clearly an archivist. You got some people like walking history books. So we have all these different components, but have not pulled them together. Now, will language be the thing that congeals everyone? No, but will it help? Yeah. As with land, to be able to say, I have a holy land here. Let me show it to you on the map. Well, you may not be able to see it on the map, but I'm gonna put my finger where it's supposed to be, because it's so tiny. But that's okay, right? That's okay. So, Lo is funny. All right, so we're getting into, again, a little deeper into our nation building discussion. And before we do that too, I know this thing is wavering while I'm talking, man. So I hope it's not making anyone seasick or anything, giving you motion sickness. All right, I'll straighten it out next time. Now, I know usually when people in their car, they shoot videos of themselves sitting there talking, but yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm not always all that crazy about being on camera and stuff like that. Sometimes, I do it, but anyway. So, so I wanted to also mention that there's a video that's out. If you want to check out a kind of cool interview with me and 3 other sisters, it's on YouTube right now. She put out, one of the sisters put it out last night, about, I guess, I don't know, 10 o'clock somebody's time zone. I don't know. I'm bouncing time zones right now, so I don't know what time. But either way, it's out, so it doesn't matter. And I put little clips of it on the Instagram page, and I think there might be a link on the Facebook page, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say the scene is very suburbish. Hey man, stop trying to figure out where I'm at. Are you a detective now? You're like, very suburbish. Let me see if we could read that football sign. If we could read that sign over there, then maybe perhaps we could zero in. Let me zoom in on it and see what school that is. And then, hey, don't worry about it, man. Just listen to the information. I move in the shadows. Y'all should know that about me by now, man. Yeah, I'm sneaky. Good sneaky though, not bad sneaky. But yeah, man. So yeah, so the interview is up, man. So you guys, I mean, you might want to check it out. And we talked for a very long time. So I saw that she put part 1 on it. So I guess there's more parts coming or whatever. But just subscribe to the channel. You'll get the notifications when the next one comes out. Of course, I don't know when she's gonna release the next one. Um, or if I'm even in the next one. I don't know at all. In fact, I haven't even seen the whole video yet because I've been moving and grooving and working so much I haven't even had a chance to look at it. But I did skim through it a little bit and just, kind of saw what was what. And, it was fun. Some people who watched it, they really enjoyed it. So, I think you guys might enjoy it too. So, and plus, I just like supporting people's stuff, man. So that's another reason why I'm bringing it up, man. So that's what I'm saying. Go subscribe to the sister's channel, like the video, comment on it. The channel is Odd Anomaly TV. All right. So it's and if you can, please put picture. I'm sorry, a link of it into the chat room. Yeah, Lo said I had a silver-haired maiden, a yogi, and a soul sister. Okay. Yeah, they're interesting blend, But another thing too, that's a part of nation building. Like, I love to support women getting together and having fun with each other and just being women, man, relaxing a little bit, man. So, whenever that, oh, come on, man, I thought I turned my volume down. All right, hold on a second. Let me. All right, yeah. I need to mute that because that's distracting. Yeah. So anyway, um, so yeah, man. Anytime. What the hell, man? Excuse my language, man. I thought I just muted the darn thing. All right. Anyway, let me put my phone over there. It keeps going off. I don't know if you can hear it, but anyway. So yeah, man. Anytime women get together, man, and they're not, being mean to each other. I'm just gonna say that it's something that we need to support, man. So I just like to see. I think sisters groups and sisters circles and uh, covens and all those different experiences where women get together and just kind of ritualize together or whatever the heck y'all do together. Because I'm not there. Cry, paint each other's toenails. Practice tongue kissing in your hands or whatever the heck you do. Slumber parties. I think it's just cool. It's healthy and it's so needed because women are not really meant to be uncovered and put out into the world alone, and we do that real often. And we encourage it. Like, yeah, you got to go get your own place, get your own apartment, and that tears them up, man. It hardens them in a real serious way, man. You know, they really need to huddle together. The women really should be in groups. They should be huddled up. They should be coupled up. And I don't mean coupled like, in a sexual way, unless that's your thing, but they should definitely be partnered up, man. They would get a lot further that way. And sometimes, again, your attack, like I always say, your attack comes where your strength is, man. So a lot of times there's attack that's put on women to not be driving that damn car around. Okay, so I just had a car behind me, so, to not be friendly with each other, not to be sisterly with each other, and because that's where the strength is. Remember, wherever your strength is where your attack is going to come all the time. Just like men find great strength in solitude, we're the opposite. When we're able to go off and think and to figure things out. That's why a lot of times when you're in bad relationships, the person you may be in a relationship never wants you to be quiet. Like if you go off and you be quiet because they know what you're doing. When you're quiet, you're figuring out a way how to escape. You're figuring out a way to distance yourself. So they'll constantly keep you engaged in mindless chatter to keep you from escaping. You see, Whereas again, because that's the strength for a man, to be able to find that solitude, to go off to think and to connect, because we connect in a different way. Whereas women find great strength in and assemblage and community and communion. That's why usually it's the women who will say, hey, oh, that's right, y'all can't put links in the chat. That's right, I didn't make any of you guys moderators. My bad. Maybe I could do it from my phone. But either way, it's Our Anomaly TV. Just check it out. It's episode 3, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's episode 3. But either way, I think my name is in the title for you guys check it out. And plus, if you go to my Facebook page, which is just Chief Yuya, real easy, there's a link up there for it as well. But if I can, before we're done, I'll try to put a link in the chat for you. All right. But so yeah, anyway, like I was saying, man, your attack is always going to be where your strength is. Don't ever forget that. It's important, especially when you're finding that you're perpetually being attacked a certain way. That's the area that you need to pay attention to. All right. So anyway, back to the nation building piece, man. And all of this is about nation building. So it's not like I've really been off too tough. So like I mentioned previously, I know a lot of times when we talk about nation building and stuff like that, or people talk about it rather, it gets kind of a bad rap because you've had people who've used that term to do some real shiesty things, man. Whether it be fundraising, whether it be, getting sexual favors from people, kind of convincing them that, what we're doing is good for our people, so get in the bed, take your clothes off, or whether it's just, trying to personally enrich themselves through the idea and through the fallacy of saying, well, this is a part of nation building. Sometimes people use it as mechanisms of control. Sometimes they're selling things as a part of nation building. Well, you want a nation build, so you need to buy this paperwork or buy that or go through this particular process or that process so we can be a nation and so forth. And, I'm not necessarily knocking anyone who does any of those things, to be honest with you, because you always need certain elements in the environment to keep the environment sanitized. So having wolves in your environment, and even having clowns in your environment help you to see who people are. So like even as part of nation building, sometimes I look at, believe it or not, and I don't want you to feel self-conscious now, but I look at some of the other speakers or teachers that some of you all appreciate. And if I know like you're riding with a clown and you stay riding with a clown, it tells me something about your character. So it gives me some information about nation building in that sense. I'm sorry, about the individual in that sense. If they say, or they send me certain links to certain people, hey man, you check out this video, this guy's really dropping it or whatever. And I'll say, yeah, this guy has no character. You didn't notice that the person has no character? Okay, that tells me something. And I may not say anything. And I don't want you guys, now everybody's probably going to block me on social media. I'm going to get blocked now. I don't want you seeing all the likes that I put on, Beauty Dior. But, so, no, I, don't feel self-conscious about it, but, you can kind of learn something about a person just by the beauty that they keep. Right, that is significant, right? So I know the term nation building, like I didn't expect this to be a huge month as far as like participation, because I know the topic itself probably turns a lot of people off. Like, I'm tired of hearing about that. Just like when you say pro-black now, it's like them pro-black people, oh God, because a lot of things have been bastardized. But again, that's why last session what we spoke about was from a larger macro perspective, what makes up the nation. What are some of the things that we should be looking at if that's something that we're interested in doing? You may not be. You may just say, well, I'd rather remain uncategorized. You have a lot of people like that. And I used the example last time of like sorting through files. And some things will go into a folder and some things will just be pieces of paper or files that are sitting on the desk. They're not really categorized. Now, very similar to when you get spiritual work done, especially I was teaching someone, was it last night? Night before last, about spiritual baths. And what I was telling them is that, we're working with the aura primarily when we're working with spiritual baths, and essentially what you're working to do is to attract the energy, or to reclaim or claim the energy of the story of whatever energy that it is that you're working with. So if you're doing an Oya bath, an Osayin bath, you're using certain herbs, certain mantras, certain stones and liquids and things like that that are sacred to that particular energy, right? So when you're working with that particular energy and you now imbue your aura with that flavor, with that seasoning, you now attract the ashe, the power, or not the validity, the credentials, the credibility of that particular energy. So the example I use is, say if one of you guys live in Texas, let's say for instance, right? I know some of you do, but I ain't gonna shout out your addresses. Um, and let's say if you had a lot of clout in Texas, and I wanted to really, I'm moving from where I live down there to Hot Behind, Texas, right? That's the name of the town, Hot Behind. So I'm living in Hot Behind, Texas, but I want your clout because I'm new there. I don't really know anyone. So from a spiritual perspective, I might say, hey, I want to basically bathe in your essence, right? Now I know that sounds kind of crazy, but just, go for the ride. So I figure out a way to take on some of your essence, whether it be maybe I'll get some of your hair, some of your body fluids, symbols that are sacred to you, so forth and so on. And I imbue myself with that. So now when I go through Hot Behind Texas, I get the clout and the credibility, that you have. Right. So that's where that comes from, right? That idea of a spiritual bath. But it's essentially like, when I always tell you about this ism, or I tell you about this spirituality, it's got to be in you, not on you. Right. So when you're doing like a spiritual bath, you're essentially just working with, the elements of your external. You're not really affecting yourself at a deep level. Right. So essentially that means it's temporary. That's why we don't just do one spiritual bath in our lives, or just take one bath, period. Because sludge and clutter rebuilds and builds back up again, and things like that. Right. So I'm using that as an example. Also I'm using it as a teaching moment to teach you about spiritual baths too. So, even though we're talking about nation building, I always try to cover different bases when we're talking, so that way everybody, the people who just came in for spiritual, so that everybody walks away with something, right? But I'm using that as an example, in terms of like how we're looking at this this idea now of coming from an external perspective, right? And that external perspective, being what the things that make up the larger nation, and then now we can start looking at the internal things, because of course nations are founded upon individuals. You don't have any individuals, you don't really have anything. You got to have that. So Vivid Eye Publications, peace. And you see that name in a minute. How's it? You should have that baby by now. You should have a new baby crying around the house and drooling on stuff. If I got my dates right. But anyway, I'm just referencing the chat room for those of you who are not, who are not watching the screen. So we now look at the more internal aspects of what makes up a nation, and of course, what makes up the nation is the family. Right? What makes up the family is a collective of individuals who choose the family as a cultural, emotional, physical, spiritual shelter. Right? Okay, good. She's good. Getting too big fast. Yeah, they tend to do that, man. They tend to do that. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying that this phase in your life. Fatherhood, man. It's no joke. No joke. Especially when you have a girl. So congratulations, my brother. I'm just glad that you're enjoying it. And one cool thing about becoming a father, man, is it makes you feel invincible. You gotta be careful. You want to beat people up for no reason, because you just know you can. Because I got a baby girl I'm going back home to, man. You ain't gonna do nothing to me. You'd be like my man Jim Kelly in 3 the Hard Way, beating up all them cops. You trying to set me up? So yeah, it gives you a different level of strength. It give a different kind of knowing, when you know that really you have something and someone to live for. And someone is unconditionally accepting you. Maybe not loving you, but unconditionally accepting you, man, no matter how foul and stinky you come in from a day's work, or or whatever it is that you're about or you're doing. So yeah, man, congratulations definitely on that, man. It's good. So yeah, so like I said, and we're talking about the internal aspects of the nation building, which begin with the family. And one of the things that oh, you're more than welcome, brother. One of the things that I mentioned last strong was that I wanted to speak about the responsibilities of each member, right? And kind of go into that a little bit, because sometimes we don't really realize, again, when you live in a society that pushes homogeny and pushes unisexualization, we don't really speak about the value and the accountability and the responsibility of each gender assignment, and not even each gender assignment, each age assignment. And it's such a beautiful, complex tapestry. And I know, again, we're speaking culture now, right? So again, within a nation, we have a agreed perspective of culture. And it doesn't mean that within those cultures is not other cultural groups, but there's certain things that are agreed upon. So some of the things that I may say people may thumbs down and not like when I say, oh, we move towards unisexualization, there's a lot of people who have said to me in the past, like, well, what's wrong with that? Or have had taken issue with that. Well, nothing's probably wrong with it for you. So I'm not speaking down about it. I'm speaking about just an agenda that's going on for the purposes and the needs of a certain nation. Like, for instance, we have this celebration, this national celebration of Thanksgiving coming up, right? And with Thanksgiving, there's and I'm just gonna give a quick little story. Yesterday, I was walking down the street and ran into some Hebrew Israelite brothers, right? And they were doing their thing, spreading the good word, speaking to the valley of the dry bones, as we read about with Ezekiel, right? So of course, I'm walking down and say, "Hey, brother," here we go. Like, man, I was trying to, "Hey, brother, do you celebrate Thanksgiving?" Nah. Yeah, I know I kind of messed up the messed up the script. So I probably should have said yes, just to so that way just the script could have played out like it was supposed to. Well, I was like, nah, man, I don't celebrate no Thanksgiving. I don't even know the dates of that stuff. Only time I know the dates of that stuff is when I'm traveling, and the tickets are higher. Oh, must be a holiday. So I said, nah, I don't celebrate. Well, why don't you celebrate, brother? Still trying to get me. So, I said, well, no, I said on this, I don't have an issue at all with Thanksgiving, but I wouldn't celebrate my conquest. So I don't really see the relevancy of that. But if I was the one who actually was the victor, yeah, then I think Thanksgiving is a wonderful celebration. Now, if we're celebrating like a harvest festival or something, that's cool. I'm all with that, because worldwide you have harvest festivals. That's always been a thing. But just the premise and the ideation that goes behind Thanksgiving, that's not something I particularly want to celebrate. But I don't have a problem with other people celebrating it, because you should celebrate when you get a win. You should, right? But I'm just not going to celebrate when I'm the one who caught the loss. I'm not going to celebrate my L, right? So he was like, well, you obviously a well-read brother. He actually got off the microphone, passed it off to somebody else, and got onto another subject. I was like, oh, man, I messed up I guess I messed up the script. But that's just a prime example, of something where we look at our celebrations, and we look at the things that we do, and we have to understand what's specific to us in terms of what we want to create in our nationhood, right? And not necessarily look to create a unified mind. Now, of course, the brother was speaking from that perspective, like we all need to be following the Most High's commandments and this and that and that. And I'm not arguing with them, because I'm not a child. I don't need to argue. And I was very appreciative, and I thanked him. Even before I answered my question, I said thank you. And the reason why I was saying thank you, because you out here, doing what you feel is right, man, and preaching the good word, and trying to wake people up, man, and thank you for having the heart to do that. Even though you might be saying things I don't agree with, I'm not about to I'm not rocking with you. And I'm not wearing no Shazam outfit, looking like no superhero. I'm not trying to do that. You know, um, although I do think I could pull it off very well. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like, if I wanted to wear one of them Power Ranger outfits that brothers be wearing, I think I could really come up with something real fly. Cause I got an eye for Power Ranger fashion, so I think I could really pull off some Hercules sandals and Hercules boots with the straps going up and everything like that. And yeah, man. So if I was gonna do it, I'd be the best one out there doing it. But I don't want to do that. All right, that's not my flow. All right. So but I am so appreciative. Yeah, Sun Ra fly exactly. Sun Ra. Yeah. You know. That's one of my art. But man, you got to thank people though for just having a heart to share, man. Just like when Jehovah Witnesses come around and they're trying to strengthen God's kingdom and indoctrinate you into that cult. Thank you, for having the heart to do it. You didn't have to do it, So anyone who's trying to give you the best of what they got, man, just be appreciative. So that's an aspect of nation building. And of course, they're nation building at the level that they feel is, that they're being called to do by their creator, essentially, right? So I want to just make that clear. Like I said, when I speak about, we live in a space where there's a movement towards, homogenous households, where now the family. So when I say the family, it really has been redefined. Like when we say fatherhood, right? For some, we always have to objectively be able to see outside of ourselves and realize that homogeny says that we all want you to do the same thing, but the same thing may be different, but it's all based upon our cultural perspective. So, right. So when I say fatherhood, I'm thinking about a man who is, who is raising a family, right? Because a fatherhood, as a father, you're not just a father to your children, but you're a father to your woman or your women as well, depending on what your family structure is. You're a father to everyone and everything inside of that household, based on the tenets of what fatherhood is. And fatherhood is basically, you're the architect, you're the rock. You remember father coming from patir, coming from patah, right? So essentially, and even you have that aspect of patah, which correlates to obatala, right? And obatala is what? The resurrected spirit of the fathers, right? So you understand right in there when you're studying that Orisha understanding. Well, Obatala is not an Orisha, but when you're studying that emanation, that understanding, you're learning something about how to be a good father. You see, just like when you're studying something about Patah, you're learning about how to be a good father. You see, because as a part of being a father, you got to be an architect. You have to be a visionary. You have to be able to see things where no one else can see it, man. Sometimes you'll go and you say, hey, man, I want to move my family, man. We're going to go buy a house over here. And, you may bring your family. They say, this dump, you know, and, you may take your children out the car, man. They jump out, grab a rock and throw a rock through the window. Sometimes some of us got some bad children, your woman might be like, ugh, it's dark in here and it stinks. And, and you got to be able to see beyond that and say, babe, listen, trust me, it's going to be fly. Wait till we get it the way we want it. I can see we're going to have a pool in the back. We're going to put a long, extended, Hollywood style pool. And, over here is where we're going to put the game room. And up there, we're going to put the jacuzzi. And she might just be like, this place stinks. Smell like somebody died up in. You might be like, well, somebody did die in here. That's why we're getting such a great deal on it, But all that's a part of fatherhood. Sometimes you got to make those tough, difficult decisions that, when no one else is riding with you, essentially. And that can be a challenge a lot of times in manhood. No one, I really want to put this on the dash, but I know what's going to happen. It's going to fall, and we've been doing so well. So let me just keep it the way it is. All right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But sometimes that's a difficult aspect of manhood, man. I deal with that with a lot of people a lot of times where they want their family to ride with them on certain decisions. And if you're a man, you're not going to get that most of the time. You have to learn how to validate yourself and not only validate yourself, you have to learn how to link with other men who are greater and further along and better than you are, who will look at you and let you know when you're making a punk move, or let you know when you're doing something great, and say, yeah, okay, yeah, that's the direction. And you'll know you're doing something great a lot of times, because if they're great men, you'll see that you're getting some of the similar results that they're getting, or you're walking in some of their footsteps. But as men, you got to have those greater men around you. Sometimes you might do something that like I said, that's real punkish or real simpish, and say, hey, nah, man, I think you know better than that, than to do something like that. Nah, that wasn't cool. And I've had that growing up. I'm sure a lot of you other men have, hopefully, and some of you haven't, and you can see the results of it. But I had men in my lives who I'd do something and say, nah, come on, man, you got more brains than that. Why would you handle that situation like that? And it could have been something I was bragging about. Yeah, man, I told him, boom, 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 you come back around, da-da-da-da, I'm a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know me, boom, popping my collar all crazy. And what are you talking about, man? Oh, you talking that old gorilla talk, man. I thought you were educated. You read books. What are you doing? Sometimes you need an older head to say that as a man, or, it's just a better way to handle things, or hey, try it this way, or try it that way, So your validation sometimes will come there, but more so not so much your validation, but your head nods if you're heading in the right way. And for a man, it's much different. So when you understand the aspects of patah, again, patah giving you that aspect of father or Peter or rock. Upon this rock I build my church, right? You know that scripture. I was talking to the brothers yesterday, so you might hear me quote a lot of Bible scripture because I was quoting a lot to them yesterday. Just that's a part of knowing different languages, right? As we were talking about earlier. So because I can, just like when I'm speaking to my Muslim brothers, I'll quote a lot of surah. I'm in the Quran a lot, and and it just makes the exchange more enjoyable. So that's all. So I might still be in that zone a little bit. So excuse me if you catch me. I might start shouting and falling out. But anyway, so you're studying that patah energy, right? You're learning it. And that's what that represents, is what you're supposed to represent as far as being a cornerstone of the nation. Now, remember, I said this earlier, where your strength is where your attack always comes. So look at the memes, look at the artwork, listen to the panderers, right? Let me close this sunroof. That's much better. Who are you typically told is the cornerstone and backbone of your nation? Right? Now you know who I'm talking about. You're typically told the woman is, right? The woman is the backbone of the community. The woman is the cornerstone. You gotta build the woman up first if you want the nation to rise. That's all BS. It's a lie. Remember, your strength the attack on your strength will always reveal to you the crucialness of what you can do with it. Right? The crucialness of where you can go with it, right? The strength and the cornerstone of a community is the man. So what we do, if we want to keep the nation down or keep the nation from ever forming, we'll tell you the exact opposite to keep you running in circles. We'll tell you that it's the woman who's the most fluid, chaotic, unstable aspect of the nation, because she's supposed to be. All right, that's not a shot. We want her fluid. We want her chaotic because that's where the creation comes from her fluidity. So how the heck could something that's soft and fluid be the actual bone of a society? That doesn't make sense. But sometimes you just got to think, you got to step back a little bit, I mean, let him talk. And then when he leave, you be talking again. You know what I'm saying? Let Debo, do what he want to do. And then when he step back, when he walks away, think about it. Does that even make sense? No. So if I'm making the guys soft and I'm effeminizing them, then I can never build anything because they're just too doggone soft. So patah immediately tells you that. When you say, well, patah is Peter, is pater, coming into Latin, pater, where you get paternal, which is father. Well, heck, what the heck was patah? Well, once you start learning about Ptah, then you realize, well, no, that was masculine strength. So father is masculine strength. Oh my goodness. So why is it when we look at movies and we look at TV shows and stuff, the Cosbys and Family Matters and whatever new shows they got out, because I don't watch none of them. So you could kind of get a sense of when I stopped watching, because all the stuff I be citing is like from the 80s, early 90s, but and then, well, at least as far as black shows, everything after that, I don't want to film this person. Hold on, let me put this down. Somebody driving by. All right. And mainly because I ain't want y'all to see no license plate. You got all the investigator. Oh, that's where he at. Okay, all right, okay. Why you didn't tell me you was out here, Chief? You know how y'all start doing. That's messed up. You could have did a reading for me. You could have came and cleaned my house. You could have came and rotated my tires, Chief. Serve. No. So anyway, but you always see the exact opposite, right? You always see the exact opposite. I know. I play around too much, So just looking at that aspect, right, tells us something about what the man's role is in nation building, is to be a visionary. Period. Visionary in nation building. Now, let's skip over. And actually, what I really wanted to do, I'm still trying to figure it out. I ain't narrowing it down to the trees. Why do you think I went to a parking lot? I did this on purpose. Y'all nosy, man. So another aspect is the children. And really, when I wanted to start the discussion, I really wanted to start from the children and work my way out from there. I actually messed it up a little bit. But it's okay. We're going with spiritual flow. But let me just make a point real quick about the fatherhood piece in nation building before we move forward. Fatherhood, the definition of such has changed. So you got to be careful when you're taking on certain information and learning certain things, because what you're being told about fatherhood is much different than what you may be imagining, because you have gay fathers, right? You have single fathers, right? You have polyamorous fathers. You have fathers who have been in divorced situations, who are no longer with their children or their previous mate or whatever, right? So when you look at the institution of fatherhood, it's changed greatly on a national level when we're looking at Western culture. So we may not be speaking about the same things when we say fatherhood, or when you hear me say Ptah. So that's why, going back to this again, it's not a plug or anything for the book, but grasping the root, right? So you notice, looks familiar, huh? No, it don't. So that's why you always hear me talk about, man, go underneath, go to the root of things, go to the spirit or the soul of whatever it is that you're talking about, because man, quote unquote, comes along and distorts things and makes it to fit into their agenda. And I'm not saying that a gay man can't be a father, right? Because there's a level of fatherhood that's just biological. Can he go make a baby? Yeah, sure, absolutely, right? But understand that his agenda and his purpose and his motivation may be a bit different depending on what he's foundating himself upon, right? I have had females who have told me that they're fathers because the father's not around. So, I'm the only father this child knows. And then I also work with certain couples who are same sex, right? And you should know with me. See, one thing about me, as much stuff as I talk about, and I don't really talk about gay people that much, but I don't hold back. They don't really have an issue with me. The gays love me. Oh yeah, the gays love. No, I'm joking, but you know what it is? I'm straight up, man. So like, I'll crack jokes, like, okay, like when they come sit down for me, all right, who's the daddy and who's the mommy? You know, like, and they'll laugh, like, because they know it's all in fun, man. I'm not trying to be offensive. Sometimes when you try to skip around things and tiptoe, that's more offensive than just being direct, you know, because you letting them see, man, it ain't that big a deal, man. That's what you want to do. All right, I don't agree with it, but hey, man, I don't agree with a lot of things, and it's done now. What's done is done. You know, my disagreement with it isn't gonna make you turn around. You know, now that brings up an important point where people ask about the role of gays in nation building, or of course we don't say gays anymore, we say LGBT, but it's all gay. So I don't know why we have to make these distinctions. You know, like we say only men can be gay and women are lesbians. No, they're both gay, so it's all gay. But anyway, I'm not part of the community, so I don't try to break it down, try to make sense of it. Um, they don't have a profound role in my nation because my nation is built upon man, woman, child, or man, woman, children. You know, so it would be very difficult, and biological man, biological woman, biological child. So it would be very difficult for them to find footing in what it is that I envision building. But they don't have to be a part of my nation. You know, we don't have to be one nation per se. You know, they can have their own nation. All right, in which they're doing. In fact, they're making more ground than than you know, a lot of other groups. I'm not gonna mention, but they're making a lot of ground because they focus on quality of membership, like I've said before, and not quantity. We want everybody to be down. I'm doing a lecture. Everybody come out. They say, hey, no, we just want 2, 3. We're gonna do a private little tea party. Put our fingers in the air, and we're gonna have quality people come through, man. You know, so it makes a big difference when you're building, right? So again, you have different forms of nation and different forms of fatherhood, and even motherhood has been redefined as well. Because, for instance, if you're considered a transgendered person, which again I don't really get down with that, but whatever, um, because I don't acknowledge someone's going to be transgendered, nah. But anyway, not to be offensive to anyone. So, but if you're a transgendered woman, let's just say we're going to use that terminology, then theoretically you could be a mother, right? So when we start having conversations around motherhood, then that individual would consider themselves included in that conversation as well, right? Even though that may not be what you're envisioning in your mind. All right. So I just wanted to make that small point real quick, in dealing with fatherhood before I jumped to the next idea, that you want to really make a determination. This is where it gets uncomfortable sometimes. Well, what is fatherhood to you? Now, again, if you go back to those base principles, it helps you to understand, like, well, let's look at Jupiter. Let's look at Obatala. Let's look at Ptah. And there's so many other father energies in so many different traditions. Only reason I went to Kemet, I want to make it clear. Only reason I said Ptah because I'm currently speaking English. All right, so that's why I went to Ptah, just because the connection was very easy, right? So father, paternal comes from pater, pater comes from Petra, which is like rock, but pater and Petra come from Ptah. So that's the only reason I just want to make it clear. So the reason why I'm saying that, I don't want you to think that comedic structure has the only answer for us to understand what fatherhood is. That's not what I'm saying. It's just because I'm speaking English. That's it. All right. So now we go into let's hit the child aspect for a second. What is the responsibility of a child in nation building? A lot of times we think that they don't have any responsibility. So our children usually sometimes don't really reflect the greatest of our culture. You find that a lot in conscious circles where the children just kind of do their own thing, and then the parents are like, I wish I could get them to come over and I'm gonna do a hip hop presentation. It goes back to that again. But I wish I could get them more involved and more in this and more of that and more of that. But because you've segmented your nation building, you've made your culture only going to a class or going to a lecture or not eating meat or not eating GMO or whatever, and you've considered that to be the fullness of your culture. And children need a more all-encompassing type of experience so that they're not even cognizant of the fact that they are immersed in a certain culture. It just becomes what it is. It's just what we do, or it's the way we do things. Like, it's always let me give you a little Let me give you a little nation building tip. Community building tip, which I've always employed. I tend not to use the word rules. If any of you have ever even noticed, you go back, you don't hear me use that word very often. I hardly ever say rules, 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 that word. Um, because as soon as you say rules, it puts people into a certain mind state that's usually gathered to them by certain institutions that are not necessarily healthy. When you say rules, well, this is the rules of what we're gonna do, or these are the rules of the game, or the rules of this, or rules of that. So as opposed to saying rules, I usually will just say the way we do things. That's it. This is the way we do things. So when you hear me say culture, a lot of times I won't say cultural rules or the rules dictated and defined to you by your culture. I'll say something like, well, your culture lets you know how you should do things or how you can do things, right? So just a little tip you could use. It creates a better mental experience in people when you're talking to them. When you say how we do things, people want to say, well, I want to know how we do things. But if you say the rules, nobody wants to know the rules. you know, only if to figure out how to get around them and break them. But no one goes out seeking for rules. But we do seek for ways to do things that can be more effective and effectual in our lives, right? So let's go to the child piece, right? Now, the reason why the child aspect in nation building gets kind of interesting is because the rules have changed, right? I'm just throwing it in there. But the ways that we do things. Okay, I see a quick thing. I lost it. How do I bring back up the chat? There it is. So before I go to the next one, I see there was a question. Because I might as well take questions. I'm doing something different today. Might as well do it all different. If I could keep the chat on the screen. Vivid Eyes said, would saying the principles of our culture be a better way to describe what we do? Nope. The principles of our culture are different than the rules and the way. And the reason why is because, and I did a segment on this. I don't remember. No, I think it was one of those live lectures. I think it's oh man, I don't even remember. Anyway, let me just answer the freaking question. Go back to the 14 keys where I speak about principles and keys, right? Principles, I had shared that exchange the word principles with, or exchange the word keys with principles rather. So when you say, I think your question was like, let me pull it up again. It keeps going. Would saying the principles of our culture be a better way to describe what we do? You could say the keys to our culture, right? But the keys or the ways that we enter and unlock our culture are not necessarily what we do. We learn what we do by utilizing the keys. So it wouldn't necessarily be the same thing per se. The principles of your culture are going to be like your 10-point your 10-point commandments, almost, in a sense. It's going to be that listing of these are the tenets that we stand upon. And by standing upon these tenets, then we get filled with the rightness. We get filled with a knowing as a result of standing on these particular tenets. But then it's like when I was passing a building yesterday and it said knowledge is power. Applied knowledge is power. So the principles of the keys would be the knowledge, but when you apply them, that's the way how we do things, or the way we do things, right? So it's different stages. So when you say the principles of our culture, it doesn't necessarily apply a doing, as opposed to saying what we do or the way we do things. Because if you just say the way we do things, you could throw out the word culture. Sometimes when you're nation building, like I was saying, or your community organizing, community building, you want to learn how to use words that are very accessible to everybody. Like I always say, like when I speak, I try to speak so that a 6-year-old can understand me, or 5-year-old can understand me. So if I say, yeah, this is our culture, they might not even be able to say that word. Might not even, might not be able to pronounce it. But if I say this is the way we do things, you even have songs like that. This is how we brush our teeth, brush our teeth, brush our teeth. This is the way we tie our shoes early in the morning. You know what I mean? Now, those things are instilling a culture. Because I personally don't brush my teeth. I use a chew stick. Right? So if you say this is the way we brush our teeth, and you show me a toothbrush, I'm not culturally, that's, you're making a statement. Because in my culture, I use a chew stick. You know what I mean? But that's not a part of the song. It's like when you go to those amusement parks. I know I used to always have this trouble as a child, and they had those license plates and stuff you could buy. I always be like, why they ain't never got my name? They'll have David and Jenny and Sarah, and they be, but never, me and my family, we never get, because we all got names like I got. So I never could get my belt buckle, anything like that. So it's similar when you're singing those songs like that. Believe it or not, you're creating a cultural mind inside of a child, right? Even that I'm wearing shoes that have laces, or whatever, you could just keep going. This is the way we brush our hair. Well, we all have different things, right? So, I'm just using that as a small example. So a lot of times it's better and it's wiser to break things down into language that's a bit more accessible, because you want to be able to contact and connect with everyone, from elder to baby. You dig? All right. So talking about the child piece, and any question y'all want to throw in the chat, go ahead, because and I'm also saying that because I'm broadcasting a little bit different now, and I might miss some of these questions. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I'm seeing things a little funny on the screen. All right. So, all right. Now, let's go to the child piece, right? The reason why it changes a little bit now, because when you look at, again, the cultural mind, and you look at things, how things have changed a bit in society, typically, and unfortunately still, when we look at child rearing, we look at family creation, we look at nation building, a lot of times our perspectives are with children is that they take a very passive role, and which is problematic, and we always end up running into problems because of it. But a lot of us have this perspective with children, like they're just these empty blank slates, and they're just along for the ride. So when you have that ideology of like children have a very passive role in your nation building, or even in your community building, your family building work, you always end up getting surprised, because that's not the case. They're not passive. In fact, a lot of the socialization that we go through, or we put children through, oftentimes is based upon an idea of them taking a very passive role. So we lose sight of some of the newer perspectives that have existed within social engineering, where children are not so passive, but sometimes there's a temperament that a child takes on that can be very antagonistic, where like, hey, there was this man, it was this song I used to ban from the house. I had it on a little, it might have been a DVD or something, I don't remember, but Richard Scarry. Now, a lot of you parents probably know about Richard Scarry's songs and stuff, right? And one of my youth fell into this thing where I was like, man, take that crap out and throw that thing out. And they were singing this song. I'm trying to remember how it goes. Oh, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands and all that, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I like clapping. Clapping is cool. If you're something, then you're something. I don't remember the words, because, um, I'm a man, so I'm not sitting around living room watching DVDs with my children. I'm in and out doing things, so I hear things in passing, right? But one of them, if you're happy and you know it, da da da. If you boo da 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 da, y'all know it. And then there's a part in there, and I'm looking at the screen, and it's, if you're angry and you know it, stomp your feet. I said, what the? Stomp your feet? If you're angry and you know it, stomp your feet. No, if you're angry and you know, you better fix your face. All right, for you, you get a spanking. All right, so, oh, here come another ride. Let me put this thing down for y'all. Try to get all up in my business again. Let that car go by. So that, of course, is creating a certain cultural mind. If you're angry, throw a tantrum, stomp your feet, and then on the video, like, the child, had their hands, like, their arms folded, their face pouted, and they were stomping. And I said, no, we don't do that. No, we don't do. You stomping your feet. What is this? What kind of monster are we creating here? Because the first time your child throws that tantrum, you be ready to go off, right? So I said, man, take that crap out, throw that out. Oh, but we just take it out. You really gonna see some foot stomping. You're gonna see some real stomp down action if you don't take them DVD out and throw it in the garbage. Okay. So that's an example of how sometimes we lose perspectives on a larger national level of how children are being trained to be antagonistic towards their parents. Another small example was I don't allow children of any age to ask me anything twice. They know that. You ask me once, that's it. And don't do the please. Now you're in trouble. Because don't try to manipulate me. If you ask me something and I said no, then just you got to trust in my leadership. I said no for a reason. But all that, especially the girls, because that's how girls learn to be flirtatious and manipulative. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that to a degree because that's part of their power. And all girls, even little girls, 2-year-olds are flirtatious. They know how to lean on your knee like you're sitting in a chair. They lean on you. Daddy, can I? And daddy, but please, daddy. So they learn how to how to play that like that. But and that's a part of a cultural mind. But again, we have to be aware when there's certain subversive temperaments that are being installed inside of our children, when there's certain negative behaviors that may elicit a response from us that may be kind of adversarial. So now parent and child become adversary of each other. We're always trying to figure out how to get around our child, always trying to figure out how to get around our parent. So, and that leads to relationships later where now there's a lot of coercion. Don't tell your father. Don't tell your mother. Don't tell dad. It's all that type of action like that. So it's important when you're nation building, you pay close attention when it comes to children. You pay really close attention as to what environments and pools that you may be putting your children into that may speak about something, that may create a certain mindset, that may create a certain idea, because there's different capacities a lot of times that we ignore in children. And though we may see them as being passive, which is true to a degree, we don't realize that passivity is a form of receptivity. So sometimes we forget their capacity to receive and how enthusiastic that they become when they become social agents. So like, and you can look at how like the Nazi Party move forward, right? Using the youth squads. But children are look at the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts. They're very excited to become active social agents, even inside of their home. Go home and tell your mommy this, tell your daddy this, or tell your parents this, and do this and do that and do that. And then they're happy. They feel like they're progressing something and becoming a part of a larger scheme when they can bring those things into the house. First, say, oh, come on, everybody's doing it. They come home with some skinny jeans. Everybody, man, take that garbage off. Because they want to be those active social agents, and they're enthusiastic about being active social agents when you put them into a larger pool. So it's important that we always understand that children are kind of willing to adopt a stance, and a lot of times they'll even exert themselves in a real robust way in order to be those agents of a larger active social system. So when you come into nation building, you got to understand that attack is already there, and you can't throw your children to the wolves proverbially, because they're already there, and understanding that children already have an inkling to that. So it's not really so hard. It's just a little song, it's a little Disney movie, but they already want to be that, because your children already want to be your soldiers. And a lot of times we don't give them orders. We don't tell them, listen, this is what you're going to hold down. This is your part. Like, if you ever notice, if any of you who have multiple children, even, when you assign certain jobs for cleanup, certain youth do certain things better. I have some youth who, they're real good with horticulture. They're real good outside in the garden, in the yard. And then I have other youth that are just horrible. They just trample everything, and just they just don't have the touch or the care. They're too cold. I might say, hey, go weed over there, or water them flowers, man. I go over there and all the flowers are dead because they just got brutish concrete hands. It's just the truth of it. And then other ones, they're just real. Hey, Mr. Flower, and and a caterpillar. Oh, Mr. I'll wait. And what you doing over here? Why you ain't finished, Baba? There's a caterpillar, and I didn't want to disturb the caterpillar, so I'm waiting till it walks past, so then I can water the plant. All right, whatever. You know, so, but they're excited about having a role in the position, and they'll exert themselves in a robust way if you give them a place, that's a part of your cooperative social enterprise. And all families have to see themselves as not only a communal enterprise, but a mutually cooperative social enterprise. That's important, where we're all working. Everybody works, even grandma and grandpa. You do something. you know Everybody got to do, even if it's talking, even if it's sharing stories. Everybody has something to do, and it's a mutually cooperative enterprise. So in that sense, children have a role in nation building, because their sense of stability originates within a very secure parent-child relationship, where they see their value, and that really usually starts around 2 years old. So I'm gonna give you some real numbers to work with, some real straight up numbers to work with. That starts at 2. So a lot of you who speak to me and you're like, yeah, Chief, I want to get a reading and this and that and that. How old is your child? Oh, my son is 27. Huh? That's it. It's done. He is what he is. A reading. Me and him, we can go out, and go kick it or something, man. Go to, I don't drink. We get a cranberry juice at the bar, but what it is that what you're looking for. Why'd you retract your message, Madam Ma'at? I see you. Yeah, I see you. And I read your message. But so no, but that idea that's present there is a lot of times that you could just jump in with the child whenever you feel like, without realizing, again, they're excited about being a part of a social system where they can be agents and frontliners for. So if you don't do it for them, someone else will, because someone else has already studied that nature and that aspect of their psychology, right? So what you want to do early on, and I'm saying 2, start at 2. I'm giving you the number. Start instilling those things in them, their social responsibility and what they're supposed to be agents for. So even when you dress them in certain clothing or have them speak certain languages, have them understand that they're agents for that particular culture. They are the ambassadors and the vanguards of whatever culture it is that your family claims allegiance to, right? So if, let's say, you have a daughter and certain clothing that maybe you may not let her wear, maybe there's certain words on the clothing, or that maybe you just don't want your daughter to wear, or with your boys, maybe certain colors, or you may not have them wear, or whatever it is, because everybody has something different. So I'm not saying anything's right from wrong. Some people don't like their daughter to do gymnastics because of the outfit, right? So that's one, right? With boys, some people don't like their boys to play sports. They're afraid they're gonna get hurt, or whatever, or So everyone has kind of their own different thing. I'm not trying to demonize. Oh, I probably muffled the mic again. Yep, my bad. Yep, and they just told me it's muffled. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was getting comfortable. So each national or communal or family imperative is going to be different, and it's going to cascade into certain responsive behaviors from your child, man. So that socialization and that development of the psychopathology that exists inside of your child is going to require a lot of intervention and prevention on your part as a parent. So the child's role in nation building is to be a vanguard, and you want to think about, sometimes this is where it gets real interesting. Who's really, as we say, well, who wears the pants in the house, right? So I'm gonna lean Give me a second, hold on. Because I'm holding this with my thumb, and that's why it's getting shaky. There we go. That feels a little better. Putting it on my steering wheel. So one of the important things that we look at a lot of times is with children, like I said, a lot of times we look at them as being solely passive. And what I find, which becomes interesting, and all of you who are parents, you can probably attest to this. There's a moment where you're really fighting for position with your child. You really are. And I mean, I don't just mean like they're doing things where they're being disobedient and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. That's another fight, which usually comes in the teenage years where, and I'm dropping some of this game too for some of you people may have younger children going further in. You especially as a man, you come to that place, especially with your sons, where you're gonna decide if you're gonna put your foot up there behind or just let them rock. And everyone has a different imperative, so everyone does something a little bit different. Everyone has a different parenting style. For me, I'm very, I think, strict early on, and I probably teeter and I'm borderline scary, but because I'm so goofy and silly, that it makes up for all of the harshness early on with children. And when I say early, 2 years old, it starts. But then I end that phase very early, so it only lasts for a couple of years, maybe 2 years, because you don't have to be that way that long. And then I'm all about total freedom of expression, right? So your child may be like, hey man, you say, hey, go do this over there, go do that. Oh man, this sucks, man. Baba, why are you making me go over here? Well, actually, we had that discussion recently. Why I always got to go, and it was actually with doing yard work. Why am I the one that always has to do the yard? Because you're the only one who does it right. In fact, at this point, you doing it better than I do it. Because, you're just real meticulous and you softer than me, man. You care more than I care. So that's what you're going to do, right? That's your thing. But there's an allowance of freedom of expression, because I could have, man, who you think you're talking to? Just go do what I said. You could come from that perspective, but you really don't get the best out of your child, because then what happens is that your child goes forward, they're afraid of adults. And they become an adult who's also afraid of adults. You see? So as they get older and they're in school, and it's time to do presentations, book reports, or whatever, and they got to stand up in front of the class to speak, they're terrified. I don't like speaking in front of people. Why? Because somebody shut down my throat chakra when I was a child. Because I asked a simple question. Why do I have to eat this? So, and everyone has their own style, and so there comes a time, what I'm saying, which is really the very interesting aspect of it all, is who's really in charge here? Is it me or the child? Who's really controlling the agency of parenting? Am I dictating and determining what the child is going to do based on my vision? Or is the child kind of telling me based on their ability and willingness to antagonize me? Because sometimes children will antagonize you so much that you got to stop. I had a youth years ago who started losing his mind. He got his first piece of trim, right? And because I keep, again, the lines of communication are very open, I know when everybody loses their virginity. They don't hide that type of information. I know when they smoke weed and stuff. They don't hide that information from me. Because I'm not going, I'm not going to ground you because you went and smoked the L, or kick you down a flight of steps because you wanted to see what a penis looked like. I'm talking about for the girls, by the way. We don't do that. You want to keep those doors of communication open. Now, I may tell you the best way to do it, I may tell you if it makes sense, hey, maybe this isn't the best thing for you right now, or I want you to think about this, that. But no, there's not going to be that level of condemnation. But one of my youth, right, had this, nice looking young lady, but when I first met her, and he had just came into his teenage years, 13, right? I first met the young lady. I asked her, I said, how many boyfriends you had? And I think she said like 4. I said, 4? So I turned to him. I said, you done got yourself a hoe. Little girl's a hoe. I said, she don't already have 4 boyfriends? I said, hey, man, you know your girl's a hoe, right? Nah, Baba, why you saying that? All right, okay, all right, cool, no problem. Well, I said, that's not a bad thing, it's not a bad thing. You just better know what you got on your hands. You had 4 boyfriends when you're only 13. When'd you start? So and plus she was real, nice looking young lady, real shapely, developed early, and they had hips and breasts and everything. So I knew where this was going. I knew where this was going, right? And so one day he runs up and, Baba, giggling. I said, okay, I know it. Let me finish your sentence for you. You done got something. All right. Welcome, welcome to the club. You in there now, And, we talked about it and everything, and made sure everything was cool. And, you did the sniff test. I taught you, right? And all you checked down there for knobbies. Make sure there wasn't no little critters down there. Wasn't no dead insects falling out of there, nothing like that, right? Nah, yeah, I looked at it. All right, cool. So then over the next course of a couple months, man, he started to really feel himself, like, doing things when he felt like it, skip it out. Hey, man, I told you to do this today. Yeah, but I'm supposed to meet my girl over here because, you think you a man now. You think this is like your wife, because, and I know what meet my girl means. That means we found another cove to have sex. I'm not stupid. Somebody's parents aren't home, or we found a place somewhere behind the building where nobody goes. I know you, and you don't have to embarrass your youth with that. So there's a contest and a struggle of wills in that moment, right? So you start to think about the agency of parenting. Who's really controlling this thing? Because I could say, well, listen, you ain't gonna see that young lady anymore, man, because you bugging out. You're not. You're being defiant. You're this. You're that. You're that. And I'm not feeling it. But in that moment, I chose to say, listen, man, you're gonna hit a brick wall. It's coming. You're gonna hit a wall, and all this stuff you talking, and we're gonna have another talk later. But I'm gonna let you rock. Because there was a couple times where, I had to collar him up a little bit. Hey, man, what'd I tell you to do? And I had to stop. You know what? He's coming into his manhood. So I'm not supposed to beat that down. He still knows who the alpha is, so it's no problem. Ain't like he ain't feeling that bold. He ain't gonna rear up on me, nothing like that. But he has to go through this experience now where now he's formulating some of his bloodlust, because he's feeling the motivating aspect that sex brings. How it makes you want to do certain things. Now you want to, you working out more, you cutting your hair more, you wearing my cologne, and now you want to be out in the world. You want to make something pop and make something happen because you got yourself some trim. Now I know what's going to happen on the back end, because like I told you, you got yourself a little hole there. Which of course it came out later. She was cheating and she had been with somebody else, sexually while they were, and he was crushed. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, you got your first your little heart broke. All right. But you got your heart broke because you did something ass backwards. And I was trying to tell you wasn't listening. Right. So as a parent and the nation building work, there comes a moment where you have to kind of decide who has greater agency in the work. You or the child. Right. And that greater agency, is going to mean that maybe some of what you've planned, of what you've designed, of what you envision as far as being some of the key points that you're reflecting on in your conceptual and empirical levels as a parent are going to have to take a back seat to the distinct relative stages of growth that the child is going through, because they're all going through moments even where they're psychoanalyzing themselves, and their behavioral approaches to life are changing based on how their parents are influencing them and how they're being portrayed in society as dominant agents of a root culture. So you have to at some point learn when, um, as a caregiver, because sometimes you transition from rearing children to just being a caregiver. You have to be clear as to where they're empty vessels, and when they're no longer empty vessels, and in your work of nation building, what you've put inside of them and the principles that you're seeking for them to portray has become the influential agents of their behavior. So you can't raise a boy and tell that boy every 5 minutes you're a wolf, you're a bull, you know, um, and we're out here to do this, and we're out here to take power, and you're taking them to, things where they're seeing you in a power position. And, like for me, it's them seeing me speak and be on podiums and stages, and there's 1,000 people out there sitting, and we're outdoors, and they're all like, oh my God, and crying and all this, and coming up to you and hugging you. Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you. And you got a child sitting there staring and looking up at you like, whoa, who are you? Or you're taking them to a fight. This is back when I used to fight, and they're seeing you in a mixed martial art act, and you beating someone 2 inches from their death. And everyone's like, damn, and wow, you're strong. And they're seeing all of that. And they're saying, man, this dude, I want to be this and more, and then when they start to come into that space where they're becoming that, you shut them down because you don't like it. Because it doesn't look the way that you wanted it to look, or maybe you're seeing that they're making some of the mistakes that you have made early on or whatever. But men learn through trial and error. You never can forget that. All right. And for young girls in nation building is no different. So mothers understand it's the same type of thing. But young girls learn through listening. Now, you notice, well, you didn't notice, but on the video that I did with the sisters, Yogini Ma'at and Sister Shamrock and Sister Nirvana, Anomaly, they had asked me about manhood, right? I don't remember the full question, to be honest with you, but basically I had said there's a distinction between males and men, right? Because they were asking something about what women should be doing in this day and time, and I was like, don't even ask me nothing like that. Why are you even asking me? Too many of these fake conscious speakers got answers for that. Because they're phonies. Because they know they can say things that pander to you, make you either want to drop your drawers or just follow them more or promote them, and it's just real whack, man. It's corny. So you're supposed to ask me what women should be doing in this day and time, and I'm supposed to tell you you're supposed to be back on the throne. So you can say, that's right. So I know the answers. I know the fake answers where I say now, well, what women's supposed to be doing right now is balancing things out, because, Ma'at is a feminine essence, and Ma'at is balance. And if you look at the world right now, we got all these wars and destruction because of the male ego. That's the problem, the male ego. Men are very violent, and women bring a certain level of love and peace. So really what we're supposed to be doing in this time, we're supposed to be lifting the woman up. We're supposed to be exalting the woman so we can come back through the gateway, because the vagina, the yoni, the womb is the gateway to heaven. There ain't no way we're going to be able to get to heaven if we don't go through that womb. So we're going to have to learn how to start respecting women. So really what women should be doing is putting themselves in the forefront and really telling men and sharing with men the designs and the beauty of the universe. See, I'm supposed to say some stupid crap like that. And I know some of you women listen like, that makes sense. But that ain't it. That's a lie. All of that was fake. Everything I just said was BS. Every last thing. None of it was right. None of it was even true. Women are way more violent than men. Way more violent. Yeah, I know we don't talk about that, right? So as a panderer, you're supposed to demonize the male energy and deify the feminine energy. That's what you're supposed to do. And then I'm supposed to tell you that God is a woman, which doesn't make any damn sense. It makes about as much sense as saying God is a man. But then again, we all got different gods. So, your God can be a woman. But that ain't my God. My God ain't no woman. And my God ain't no man. My God is neither. Because I don't want to get stuck down here. I would never submit myself to an energy that has to conform itself to my vision or conform itself to my form. That's a waste of time. I might as well just submit myself to myself. So anyway, so the idea there, again, like I said, in dealing with that principle, dealing with that, there's a place where you learn to pull back. There's a place where you learn, even with your women or your young daughters, in terms of your children's responsibility in nation building. Like I said, I was speaking about men, but men learn to listen over time, and that's what marks the passage from boyhood to manhood. Really, is really, really, really developing a good ear, a sense of listening. But young girls have that early on. So really what you want to do is feed them. Their role is really to listen. Their role, that's honestly what it is. Their role is to listen and to do. And when I say listen and do, I don't want you to think I'm saying in the militaristic manner, like, here's your orders, now go do it. I'm saying listen in terms of pick up game, from grandma or mommy or aunties, and then try it for themselves, like how to prepare certain food, how to decorate things, how to, and I'm not just localizing it to domestic things, but even how to make money. All my youth who are females are hustlers. Like they, from young, 7, 8 years old, had hustles, walking dogs, selling one of them things, Jesus, silly bands. I don't even know what they like, these little bands that kids wear around they wrist. But I had my youth, they were flipping those things crazy, flipping the silly bands. Came one day, was counting like $40. I was like, where you get $40 from? Selling silly bands. 8 years old, flipping it. I love it. But see, that's the feminine thing, because women control the marketplace. So where are they learning that? Well, because their mothers are hustlers. So you looking at mommy, peeping mommy. Now mommy may not be selling silly bands. Mommy better not bring back no $40 trap. But she might be doing some other things, and but so that's what I'm saying. There's a responsibility that's distinctive based on not only age but also gender roles. So there's a time when you start to look at the agency, like I said, of parenting, and you look at some of the aversive characteristics that may be seen inside your child, and then you have to make the decision if you're focusing your strategies on resisting their aversions, or respecting and kind of taking on a certain passive non-compliance. Where you say, okay, I'm not accepting this, but I'm going to let this play out. And that's some of the things that have gradually evolved. And really it gradually evolved, but also in a methodological sense, where it's been engineered into the culture, like with Generation X and stuff like that, where children kind of move more to the forefront. And if you ignore that from the greater macro sense, then your nation building is completely fruitless, right? So you got the man and the woman, and we're going to briefly speak, the man and the child, or the parent and the child even. And we'll briefly talk about the role of the women in nation building, right? And I'm only going to briefly talk about that because my job is to share that information with the women who are in my homestead, and then they're supposed to share it with you. All right. So, you guys listening, you're not my women, so certain things are supposed to be given to you and disseminated in a certain manner. And when it's not disseminated properly, then it becomes poisonous and toxic. Again, like, and I see the flyers sometimes, man. You got men over here talking about the menses. How crazy is that, man? You got men over here. So let's see. How can we still? Oh, cool. We could do that. All right. So we have Yodo Robbie 134524 put slurp in the chat. So I don't know what the hell slurp means, but I'm about to just put you on timeout. Oh, it worked. There we go. Figure out something else better to say when you come into my chat. Still talking. Yeah, so anyway. So the feminine aspect, and we have the men's call in 5 minutes. All right, so I don't want to step on the men's call. That's why I saved the women to last. I did this on purpose, so that way, if the men want to go, you got yours, but the women can still be here. the feminine aspect or the role of women is really very similar to what I've said so many times, man. Like, you see how I'm teaching the components that are necessary in nation building? That's actually the feminine role. You're supposed to be teaching the components that are necessary in nation building, right? So it's kind of like you make it clear as to what's needed and what's required, and then the man makes it happen to a degree, right? So you might say, well, listen, we need a library, we need a defense force, we need clean water, boom, 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 we need this, we need that. So there's a level of social attunement that's necessary, of earthly attunement that's necessary. How do I participate in the men's call? Okay, Irete Oguluwa, you have to join up on our new life global ministries.org. And once you do that, you're sent an email that shows you how to do that. But you might be a little bit too late because it's getting ready to start in a couple minutes. All right. So the call, we pretty much only open up to people who are part of the ministry. Right. And that is like part of the ministry, the calls and the retreats and stuff like that. All right. So I usually don't broadcast the call number and all that stuff wide. All right. So it's a simple process. You ain't got to pay no money, nothing like that. The only reason we really have the ministry sign up form is just so that we can segment those who want a deeper experience from those who just want to listen to videos on YouTube. All right. So that's all. It's not like, well, you joining the ministry, you are now, going to be dipped and baptized in the essence of, it's not that. It's like 4 questions. You just fill them out. Then you get the information. All right. But yeah, going back to the feminine aspect, when we look at the reciprocal coercion that happens a lot of times between parent and child, a lot of times it's the woman who becomes a victim of that, because again, her domain is the child in nation building. That's why when we say like a nation can only rise as high as its women, that's an important statement. And essentially because the woman is the she presides over the children like the man presides over the woman, you see, or like the man presides over the entire family. The woman is presiding over that children. And that's why sometimes in a perverted sense, a woman gets a very sick and twisted ideation that the children are completely hers because the man does something that she doesn't agree with. So she says, I'm going to take my children and I'm going to lead. They're not your children. All of y'all are being presided over by the man. So choose wisely. Don't choose someone who you don't want to preside over you. And I know a lot of times people do that purposely because they're locked into the parenting and the mating, the third party parent that this country gives you. So you say, well, I can pick any old kind of sloppy man because, I can always get him for child support, alimony. If I need protection, I'll just call the cops, boom, 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 boom. So that really is your man, right? And for men, you need to be careful of women like that. Don't mate with them. Leave them be. Leave them right where they're at. They're dangerous. Women who have that type of perspective on fathering because they have no respect for fatherhood. And it's the same thing. Women do not mate with men who have no respect for motherhood. Those are very dangerous things to do. And they have to be proven and shown ahead of time. And I see people do that all the time and then come to me for readings. I don't know what to do. You already ruined everything. I get women a lot of times who go out because they're getting a little older. They want to have children. So they just lay down with anyone and then try to act innocent about it later. Well, I didn't know it was going to be like this. No, because you just wanted what you wanted. Stop being stupid. So let's talk. Let's be honest about it. You just wanted what you wanted. Now you got the Chief Kid thinks I'll be back at the front of your black Hemi in a few looking through the tent. That brother's funny. Yeah, trying to find out, But so you got to be careful with that, sisters. That you guys end up doing that a lot, and it's only because you lack character sometimes. So and you just want what you want when you're not considering the life of the child, what you're bringing a child into, and the karmic response as a result. Okay, yo, Tarabi, you back now. So let's see. I'm gonna give you 1 second not to say something crazy. All right. But so essentially, in that sense, like I was saying, the role of the woman is to preside over the children, man. And then some of you might say, well, what if you don't have children? There's always children to have. There's a lot of children that need a mother. Oh, put my finger over it. My bad. All right. So there's a couple things here. Now, sometimes, all right, you should be able to hear me now. Y'all can hear me now. I move my finger. A lot of times we look at women as being kind of like the feminine aspect, or when I say the feminine aspect, we look at them as being the spirit keepers of the family. That's not necessarily true. Okay. Sometimes you should be able to hear me now. I took my finger off. All right. Well, I think y'all can hear me now. I think it's just delayed. All right. Good now. Okay, cool. Thank you, Sister Cheryl. Women are no more spiritual than men. All right. I'm going to give you the secret. We say that all the time, right? We say like, yeah, women are more in tune with the spiritual king. Actually, that's not true. It's not true at all. They're no more spiritual than men are. In fact, by and large, I'm going to keep it real with you. I find men to be a lot more spiritual than women are. A lot of times women mistake their emotions for being spiritually in tune. But again, hey, Yoda Robbie, like, it's about what I'm talking about, man. Listen. Keep asking, what is this about? Like somebody's now going to break down the whole show. Listen. So, always at the end of the show. Here y'all come. Here y'all come. So, is your job to be like the spiritual consciousness of the house as a woman, or the spiritual consciousness of the nation? No, because that's not your attunement. Though people will tell you that it is, and the reason that they tell you that is so that they can really just honestly pimp you out, but dirty pimp you out. Not that good pimping, but that dirty pimping. So they'll say, that's why there's so many women in church. There's so many women in church because they need leadership. That's all. It's just a natural thing. It's not because they're more spiritually in tune, because there ain't no spirit in those buildings. Those buildings are dead. You got more spirit in a one-room cabin in the middle of the woods. So it's not that. So your role is not necessarily to be the spirit keeper, but to be the taboo keeper. Okay, so what that means is this. A lot of times when you're young, you always got that one girl, and I had them growing up, where you guys about to do something bad, and it's always that girl. There used to be a girl well, she's a woman now, but back in the days, I'm gonna bring my window down a little bit. All right, cool. I'm over here fogging up the windows with all this hot fire that I'm spitting. But yeah, a lot of times, man, like I had a young lady where every time we were getting ready to go get into some mischief, because I was younger than a lot of the guys I hung out with. I mean, like 5 to 10 years younger. I was always fast, right? And she'd be like, nah, you stay here with me. You ain't going with them. They about to get in trouble, So a lot of times you have those women or even those young girls who are like the taboo keepers, where they understand the things that will get you into certain situations, get you in trouble, even down to food. Why are you even going to try to eat that? It's going to give you this problem or that problem. So it extends outwards into nation building the same way. The women maintain the taboos. They think about the things that we may be that may be a violation of our own spiritual laws. See, that's the key. Now, like there's a line in the Biggie song, no, actually Lil C says that in Play His Anthem, where he says blowing up spots like little sisters, right? So basically, because it's like the whole what's happening thing where D is always like, ooh, I'ma tell mama, that type of thing, because she's always aware. And, yeah, there's some snitchism in there, but she's always aware of what you may do that may put you in a disopportune situation. So she's trying to keep you from being that, keep you from doing that. See, that's the woman's role, is to kind of be what we call in Islam the Sharif. And the Sharif is where you get the term sheriff. And Sharif means Allah's enforcer, right? So it's not that she's walking around with a bamboo stick like, yeah, I'm going to beat you upside your head if you do something wrong. But like a mother she's making sure that you're maintaining the principles of what you laid down, and I can attest to that even when you have children. I don't know if anyone else has this experience, but I have certain female youth where if I try to get slick, I remember one time walking through the store, like none of the women around to make any food. So I was like, all right. And I didn't have time to really make food for the youth. So I'm like, man, I'm going to do something real slick, man. I'm going to get some French fries and like, I don't know what I grabbed. Ran in the supermarket real quick, grabbed some French fries and just some wrong stuff. Might have been like a veggie pizza and a French fry. And I grabbed a bag of French fries, and my youth, she was in the cart. She was real young. And she said, "Oh, no, Baba, we don't eat that. You made a mistake." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, baby. Yeah. I grabbed the wrong thing." Lying. Yeah, I'm a lie. I was like, "Oh, yeah, baby girl. I grabbed the wrong thing." And the boys was like, they want anything, whatever. They ain't thinking about it. But see, that feminine energy made sure that I kept the commandments because I'm the one that taught the family how to eat. You know what I mean? I'm the one that said, no, you better not be giving my children none of, and I'm the one who went and grabbed the same thing. So a lot of times what the women provide in that sense is that alignment, where they make sure that those commandments are kept. So they instill them and they project them and they imbue them in the children. You see, they make sure the children are maintaining the taboos. So even in our tradition, when we give like life path readings or we do the Esentaye when the children are born, it is the mother who's responsible for maintaining the taboos, not the father. So you may do a reading for a child and you say, hey, this child can't eat peanuts. The child shouldn't swim in a river. It can swim in the ocean, but not the river. Whatever kind of taboos come, if it gives an offering, it always has to leave it by the river. Don't let the child leave the offering in the woods. And the mother is responsible by and large for maintaining not only that child's offerings and whatever it has to do up until a certain age. That's when we do like the Jokoto reading, but not only the Joto reading, not only maintaining those taboos, but also making sure that the spiritual work that's necessary for the child is carried out. See, a lot of times the mother serves the priestess role in that sense, right? Not necessarily for the entire family, like as far as from the man and stuff, but for the children, the mother becomes like the head priestess. So it's the mother that's preparing spiritual baths. It's the mother or the woman that's making sure that certain foods and offerings are given and stuff like that. So they learn primarily for the purposes of not creating a positive life inside of them, but to create a positive agenic role inside of their children, because they're creating positive roles inside of their children, and it's teaching the mother a sense of resiliency. Because each child comes, you have to learn different taboos, different rituals. So the mothers in that sense almost become like, it's like they're going through like a spiritual training almost in a sense. And when they're instilling those positive socialization mechanisms and protecting that child from certain risks, spiritual risks and whatnot, right? And it helps the mothers also and the women to understand a certain degree of relationship science. So for instance, even in Anu, there's an inner circle of women that I have that do rituals just for me, right? And for Anu as well, but it starts with me. And in some senses, those are like, even though most of them, they're younger than me, most of them, but those are like my mothers in a sense, because they're ritualistically making sure that my spiritual taboos are kept and all that, because I'm busy. I'm all over the place. I'm driving here, I'm driving there, I'm doing this, and I'm flying there, I'm flying there, and I'm working with this people, working with these people over there. So I don't always have the time or even the conscientious in terms of my thought to stay on top of the things that I'm supposed to stay on top of. So I have women who handle that for me. Or there's been times when I've been away from my own shrine, things have happened, and I've said, hey, something, this is a funky energy here, something's going funny, I need y'all to get on top of this. And they'll go in and start handling that, right? So the role of the women a lot of times is to maintain the spiritual front. But again, I want to reiterate, it's not because women are more spiritual, it's because women are more responsible. That's why. Okay, they're not more spiritual than men. They're just more responsible. And of course, like I said, you're gonna get a lot of people to disagree with that. You're gonna get a lot of people, no, that ain't true. We more into it because it makes you feel good. That's all. Just like me saying women are more violent than men. There's a lot of men who'll be like, I don't agree with that, man, because my man, you nothing going up against a woman, man. If women have physiques like we did, oh my God. Because think about just how a woman fights. Just think about the things that they think about doing. We punch someone in the chin and we're done. Like, yeah, I knocked him out. I'm walking away. Because there's honor in the fight. A woman's going to bite you, rip your eye out. They be pulling each other's hair out. Crazy stuff. They're very violent because why? They're the chaotic energy. So the chaotic energy looks to destroy. Remember, the positive energy creates, the negative energy destroys. So the woman being water, when things go into the water, they dissolve. When things go into the earth, they transform. You see, you put things in wind and it pushes it forward. You could even put something in fire and it destroys it to a sense, but it makes it larger and bigger than what it was. It sends it out further through smoke, right? But with the feminine energy, it goes into the water, it rusts down and turns into nothing. It breaks down and even if you could put things in water and they decompose in earth and they decompose in the same manner. So the feminine energy is always looking to destroy things, right? Not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that. So I don't want you to look at that when I say negative like it's bad per se. It's just what it is. You need things to be destroyed. You need things to be built. Like again, when I brought up Michelangelo earlier and the statue of David, like he said, I only removed the excess that existed around the statue that was already there inside of the rock. So what was he saying? I just destroyed. I had to destroy the excess in order to reveal the beauty that existed inside. So again, the role of the woman in terms of not only being a positive or a promoter of the positive agent of the child and making sure that it's leading the child's attention into interaction where the child will have less behavioral and acclimation problems with the earth. That's part of the role of the mother, but also in terms of just the overall nation is making sure taboos are kept. So a lot of times when you're looking at behavior that we would call antisocial, right? Antisocial behavior or behavior that could have a broad range of negative outcomes, we'll say. Remember, where your strength is where your attack is. Look online at people doing crazy stuff. Most of the time it's young girls. The girl fights, stuff like that. You want to look online. With dudes, it's pretty much the same stuff. They drunk. They high. They get into fights, or they're jumping motorcycles and skateboards off of stuff that they shouldn't. But I'm saying straight up wilding out, having fights on the train, knocking people over, beating up old ladies, stuff like that. It's the girls. Because your attack is always going to be where your strength is. They're trained to behave that way. That's not, it's a mechanism that's already inside of them, but it's perverted and skewed. They're trained in that manner, you see. So because one of the great potential values that they bring is to teach us men how not to be antisocial, right? Because their whole thing is about socialization and communion. So what do? In order to keep the nation from rising up, we have to make the women antisocial. Most women that you meet, what do they say? I don't rock with too many people. I don't have too many friends. I don't like women around me. I only deal with men. Yeah, because men always want to screw you. So they're gonna put up with your nonsense that nobody else is. Other women will call you out or just not want to deal with your mess. But you think about that for a second. Most of the time, women have the biggest time socializing, the hardest time socializing. And that's their actual value and strength that they bring to nationhood. That sense of, or that disability in that area has been trained inside of the women. It's not natural to you. So I want to make that clear to you. It's not natural. It's not the way you're supposed to be. It's not the way you want to be. And that's why they put apps like Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, and Instagram in front of you, because now they give you a sense of digital interaction, of digital communion, of digital socialization, social media. But it's not real. So it satisfies that natural urge that you have inside of you as a female to socialize as a tool of nation building, but it actually doesn't really nation build because it goes nowhere. You see? So some of us may not realize that those are warrior tactics, or those are tactics of warfare, I should say, and that your positive power and influence of agency that you have when it comes to your children is being situated within a digital space, or being situated within a space that you and your family and your nation really cannot benefit from, because there's a chain of positive reciprocity that occurs between you and another woman, or you and a child, and you and a man, and that chain has been cut off by mutually aversive behaviors, because we're all being taught to behave like something that we're not. We're even taught that we're the opposite sex. So we're at war with each other with aversive behaviors. Then we have this coercive parent-child relationship where parents are trying to coerce their children into things, children are trying to coerce their parents into things, and now we're all taking a stance where we're staying divided, never can form a nation, and then the greatest gifts that we have are being trained out of us. They're being attacked first so that we behave opposite of what our greatest gifts are. You see, like a man, one of his greatest gifts is to be steadfast, right? Is to be unbending. But when a man is like that, we call him a jerk. We say he's controlling, he's a chauvinist, he's a jerk. I don't know, all the other words. He's uncompromising. He's just uncooperative. But then there's something inside of all women that are attracted to that. But that natural attraction to that leader quality that's naturally in all young boys and all men, that quality has been beaten out of you and trained out of you, that you shouldn't be attracted to. Be attracted to the guy who comes to the table with you and asks you your opinion on everything and doesn't do anything till he gets the green light of his wife. I gotta run it by my wife. Yeah, you'll marry that and you'll be happy for about a year and a half, tops. Then you'll be looking for something else. Somebody who does what? Just tell me what to do. Your attack is always where your gift is. All right, so I didn't want to go too deep into the women's aspect because, again, like I said, you get it from the wrong place, you get sick. You get it from the wrong place, you get sick. Anything can become toxic if it's not delivered to you properly through the proper channels and proper modalities. All right. So like I said, thank you for riding. We were doing something a little different today. Make sure you check out Odd Anomalies channel, Odd Anomaly TV. And I think the program is called Sacred Space. Odd Anomaly TV, Sacred Space. Right. And so make sure you check that out. And like I said, we got a men's call today. So for those of you on that, maybe I might be able to skip into some of that while I'm driving to where I'm going. And, again, remember December 1st through 3rd, coming up real quick. I'll be in New Orleans. I know some of you are already flying in. I got the word already. And I got a listing of Melanoid Airbnbs, but I'm not. I told the sister who gave, she's like, yeah, so people want to come here. I said, I ain't in all that. So, but if any of you want it, I'll connect you with her. She can, if you need Airbnbs and stuff. But she was like, yeah, you can let your people know they can stay. I ain't letting y'all know nothing. I'm already doing all this work preparing these lectures and workshops. I ain't gonna host. I ain't a butler, So a concierge. Y'all could do that yourselves, or But if you want the list, I'll link you with the sister, and you can support the local B&Bs in the area and stuff like that. But I ain't got time for all that, man. And I told her that. She laughed, of course. But so yeah, December 1st is when we start, which is that Friday at the Craig Center. So it's gonna be fun. And actually on the 2nd, I just remember she did tell me, it's gonna be kind of two things we're gonna do. If we have over a certain amount that want to come on Saturday for like the intimate thing, there's a center like right across the street from where we'll be meeting, and we'll be at the center. And then we're going to come across the street, and that's where we'll have tea and crumpets. And y'all can ask me or talk to, that car went by. You almost got that license plate. I know Armar would have been happy. I know where he's at. But, Diana told me, that place looks familiar. Maybe it is familiar to you. I don't know. But you ain't going to hear it from me. I don't broadcast all my stuff. Okay, so you guys want the Airbnb list. So this is what you do. Everybody who's saying they want the Airbnb list, go to my Facebook. I'll put it up there. Make sure you just what do we do on Facebook? Follow something, follow me on Facebook. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, I could tell I'm not a social media giant. I'll put it on there, and then I'll also put it in the comments and the description in this particular video. I'm gonna get the list from her, and I'll put it in the description, so you'll have it. So when this video comes out, it'll be here, but I'll also put a link to it on Facebook, so you'll have it in both places. All right. So because I'm not gonna be able to email y'all individually. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're tapping into, the aspect of nation building I wanted to deal with. Just want to remind you again about the New Orleans experience. So like I said, on the Saturday, we'll be in a larger space, which is it's like a music. It's nice. It's like a music center. They do concerts and stuff over there. But it's right across the street from where we'll be eating tea and crumpets and beans. All right. and kicking the Willy Bobo, and I can watch y'all get drunk. I would prefer that. So I had something to talk about that Sunday on Chief Speaks. Yeah, they came down here and got drunk, got plastered, showed out. All right. So, and then the Sunday, of course, we'll be in Congo Square Park doing the work. All right. So, man, make sure you come through. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. And I think that might be my last date for the year, because I'm right back on it January 1st. I got another thing. Well, beginning of January, I got another thing, but I don't think that's more of a private thing with an organization. And then of course I'll be back in Toronto the end of January. All right. Until such time, everyone, be well, be strong, man, and just think about your role. Go back over the things that we spoke about, and the roles of Patah, and the roles of the mother, the roles of Ma'at, in terms of maintaining the structure, maintaining the moral code. The women typically do not create the moral code, because y'all don't care about the morality. That's for men. Women bend and break all the rules, but they help to keep the rules. It's kind of a weird duality, but women are a very interesting enigma in that sense. And it's not necessarily hypocritical. It's just the nature of things. All right. So make sure you think about those things going forward. And on social media, you can follow me. Everything is Chief Yuya. All right. So until such time, I will see you all soon. Peace.